I've already sent it to his personal email. Contact his office. Tell your friends to contact his office. He should be doing something about this. Ted Lieu, L-I-E-U. I don't know it off the top of my head.
All right. So we have Gail McLaughlin here running as an independent for Lieutenant Governor. We have David Hildebrand, who's running as a Democrat for primary Nancy Pelosi. Oh, I'm sorry, Dan Feinstein. They all suck. Stephen Jaffe, who's running as a Democrat against Nancy Pelosi. And Michael Bracamontes, who's running for Democrat, running as a Democrat for governor. We have Justin Sampson, who's running for Senate. And who's coming up?
Yeah, he's on his way up. Sorry for being late.
So we're going to start this panel. Due to lack of adequate health care and basic human resources are the efforts of living under a colonized society founded on capitalism and the failures of the free market in addressing human needs. As we know, there's a statewide housing crisis, lack of education opportunities, wage slavery, and low-paying jobs, and lack of adequate health care. It is the fight in the community to repeal the Costa-Hawkins and Ellis Act, to pass SB 562, the Healthy California Act, full free tuition, college and university, with canceling out all student debt. So questions we have for the panel is, what will the panelists do to support these issues on an overview answer? And as a right, meaning they should no longer be commodities.
Yeah, I think we should go from the left.
You know what? I'm going to have to stand up. Yeah, sure. All right. So, first of all, I just want to say, give a little more introduction of myself. I'm the former mayor. I'm Gail McLaughlin, the former mayor of Richmond, California. Thank you. And I also was a council member, and I ran all 4 of my races and won them. My 2 races for mayor until I termed out, and ran again for council, and originally ran for council. All my campaigns were ran and won without any corporate money. Now that's significant because I believe that is a winning issue. People understand that when you run without corporate money, you are separating yourselves from the corporation and you are representing the people. And so we have to keep, I know all of us here are addressing that issue, and it's really, really important. And it allows you, once you get, and I just want to say how wonderful it was to hear the last panel and how there were candidates running for office. There, Sonia running for school board, and Jose running for city council, and I believe Christina is thinking of running for city council again. And these are the kind, and there was, I don't know if there was another person running for an office, but this local power building, local political power building by running candidates without corporate money is really what it takes, and it's really what's going to change things. In Richmond now we have 5 city council seats out of 7 that were run and won without any corporate money. So that's a super majority. It can be done. It can be done, and it was done in Richmond when we had this big oil refinery, Chevron, that is trying to well, right now they're trying to gain control again, but we aren't going to let them. And in the past, it wasn't that long ago when they had the whole city council in their pockets. So if it could be done in Richmond, it could be done anywhere. So I just wanted to put that out there. So let me just share some of the accomplishments we had in Richmond, and then I'll just give you a little bit about why I'm running for lieutenant governor, and then I know we have lots of other speakers here. So in Richmond, because we have an organization, the Richmond Progressive Alliance, that runs candidates without corporate money. It's an inclusive, diverse, progressive organization, year in and year out. It's not just during election times. And we were able to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. We were able to pass a new rent control law, the first one in California in 30 years. We reduced crime dramatically, a 75% reduction in homicides. We got $114 million in additional taxes from Chevron. And we have done so many other things that, you know, we strengthened our police commission, our civilian oversight commission. So we really, really know what needs to be done. And if you have a progressive organization, you can make it happen. And you have those candidates that are standing for the people rather than the corporations. And that's what my lieutenant governor campaign is all about. It's a corporate-free rate. It's a corporate-free candidacy. I'm running without any corporate money, just like Bernie did, getting those small donations that add up. And to get to the point about the Democratic Party of being the theme of this panel, and I'm a no party preference registrant. I registered no party preference. I used to be a Green Party member. I used to be called the Green Mayor of Richmond. But now I registered NPP to vote for Bernie, because in California you could register NPP and vote on the Democratic presidential ticket. So I decided to stay NPP because I believe it's a good way to reach out to people of different parties, progressive Democrats, Green Party members, Peace and Freedom Party members, people with no party registration, or no party affiliation like myself. And this is important, to build these kind of relationships. I've already got the relationships, but to deepen them. It's important because we need to all come together. And we need to look beyond the party affiliation. We need to come together based on our values. That's what we did with the Richmond Progressive Alliance. That's what I'm encouraging cities to do all over California, and many new progressive alliances have occurred. So my campaign for lieutenant governor is all about it's an organizing campaign, encouraging the building of local political power, and then we can all network together and we can really get those statewide issues passed, like SB 560, like single payer Medicare for all, like free college, like reforming Prop 13, closing that corporate loophole, and a millionaire's tax, and an oil severance tax, and banning fracking, and opposing the privatization of our schools and prisons, and so much more. These are the kind of things we can do if we come together. And we have to continuously talk about the fact that our state is under corporate control. We have to do this day in and day out, because that is really the core of the problem. And we have to let people know that it's not only the corporations, but it's their intermediaries, the elected officials that carry out the will of the corporations. And Rendon is a perfect example, because here he is shelving this really, really important health care bill, and he's in the hands of the insurance companies. So we really have to make people understand that. You have to elect elected candidates who take no corporate money and who will stand with the people day in and day out and not do the bidding of the corporations. Corporations should be out of our politics. That's a fact, and people have to understand it. People understand their lives are in trouble. People understand the hurt and the pain, but they have to understand also the cause of it, and that's by reelecting all these corporate candidates. So I want to say that I truly support the good fight within the Democratic Party, the Bernie-crat fight. You know, it's a good fight. I also support the Green Party, the Peace and Freedom Party, and I support people who are progressives with no party affiliation. We have to come together, keep our heads above water. That will make the difference. Once we get that movement building strengthened, we can all brainstorm and decide what next. You know, is the Democratic Party able to be reformed? Many say no. If it was reformed, I'll tell you, it wouldn't be the Democratic Party anymore. So, or would we start a new party? Or, you know, what would be on the agenda? So I'm going to leave it there. Thank you all. I really appreciate this event. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. Now you know why I like her. This is David Hildebrand.
The mic reaches here, so I will stay here. I actually have a fun activity for you tonight. I'll get to that in a second. But my name is David Hildebrand. I'm running for U.S. Senate. I'm running against Feinstein, who is the incumbent, and now apparently I'm running against Kevin Leone, which is Feinstein Light. So why I call him Feinstein Light is because he collects money from almost exactly the same corporations that Feinstein does, all the way down to Raytheon, which has no interest in state issues. So he's already accepted a bribe from Raytheon. So why would we want a quote-unquote progressive candidate that takes corporate money and has just started a super PAC? Don't, right? So one of my main issues is single-payer healthcare. I've actually fought for single-payer healthcare for 10 years. I'll get to that a little bit more later. But first, since we're going to be sitting for a while tonight, I have a little activity for you. I want you guys, and I'm going to join in this as well, so I'll scoot my chair out. I want you to stand up, and if any of the following statements are true of you. You or a member of your family or friend has or had cancer. Go around you. I tripped it. You or a member of your family, stay standing so no matter what, stay standing if one of these applies to you. You or a member of your family is diabetic, or one of your friends. You or a member of your family has HIV or AIDS. You or a member of a or friend for that one too. You or a member of a family or friend is physically disabled. You or a member of your family or a friend is suffering from mental illness. Now I want you to look around and look at everyone around you that's standing. You can go ahead and sit down now. So now you know why healthcare is such a huge issue. We all know people that have had issues with their health. And that is why I believe that healthcare is a human right.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
It is not for corporate benefit or corporate profit. So how many of you, raise your hand if you, I can't see any of you because it's bright up here, but how many of you know what a cap on your health care is? A lifetime cap. Raise your hand if you know what that is. I see a few hands out there. For those who don't, buried deep in your agreement with your health care company that you pay, hundreds of dollars a month for and pay co-pays for, there's an agreement that you will only be covered to a certain cap. Now, depending on your plan, that could be, $50,000. That could be $1 million. Then you get cancer. Guess how fast that cap gets met? Now, you meet that cap, you get kicked off your insurance, and they leave you to die. But they don't just leave you to die because your family's not going to give up on you. So your family is going to pay for your medical expenses, your housing expenses, and whatever expenses you need to try and keep you alive and try to give you that care that you need. So then your family goes bankrupt. So then your friends chip in, and your friends go bankrupt. Now all the people that care about you have just went bankrupt, paying for your health care out of the goodness of their hearts, and you still die. This is a personal story of mine from a high school friend that went through exactly this process. This is something that's near and dear to my heart. I have fought this issue, like I mentioned, for 10 years. I debated single-payer health care in college. I grew up in a heavily red district that voted heavily Trump. And I've come from that, got an education and understood that there's more to life than just gaining more money. There's more to running for office. Actually, you shouldn't be getting money from running to office from corporations no matter what. But there's more for running to office than that. You need to get into office to represent the people. That's the way our government is set up, by the people and for the people. When Bernie came out for his presidential campaign, I will tell you the truth, I had no idea who Bernie Sanders was. I had no idea. I've heard of him before. I knew that he, was strong on some issues, but I didn't really look into it. I wasn't really into politics at the time. When he came out and said that he was for single-payer health care, my ears perked up. I immediately became one of the most annoying people on Facebook. I didn't have Twitter at the time, but people left my Facebook or unfollowed me because it was Bernie, single-payer, all throughout to the end of 2015, beginning of 2016. But that wasn't enough. So I decided, you know what? I hate talking on the phone to people. I'm a millennial. So we don't like talking on the phone. We like text because we can answer them when it's convenient for us. So, and that's less rude. I mean, I'm working. So why are you texting me? Because we work, long hours for lower pay, right? So, so I jumped on phone banking, and that lasted about, 3 or 4 sessions because I hate phone banking. You guys that do it, you guys are awesome. I can't do it. I do canvassing, that's my thing. I like the boots on the ground, knocking on doors thing, so I can definitely do that. I definitely talk to people with that. So I went out and I actually first I went to downtown Sacramento, which is where I live. I canvassed a lot of the downtown area, which was good because it's high density. So we greeted met a lot of people. We talked to them about the campaign and the issues, and a lot of people were already on board and knew who Bernie was. So my neighborhood is kind of a purple neighborhood. It leans a little bit blue, but it's pretty purple. So I became the canvas captain for my neighborhood. We knocked, I'm pretty sure we knocked every single door in our neighborhood on our list. So when the primary didn't go like we wanted it to, and we look back at the results, our neighborhood was a big dark blue spot on the map where everyone else was light blue or red, and red was the color in the primary to denote Hillary. We were blue. So that's what actually getting boots on the ground does. So after the Bernie campaign, I helped out on the school board campaign, and then I started helping out with the SB 562 campaign with DSA and CNA in Sacramento area. We canvassed against the health care bills, the wealth care bills that the Republicans tried to pass, and we also canvassed our SB 562. And I got a little bit busy because I decided to throw my hat in the ring for this run. Now, when I started this campaign, and I even quoted myself, and I actually got my first attack at about a month in when I was like, no one knew who I was. My neighbor didn't know who I was. People in my Democratic clubs and other organizations didn't know who I was. And I was already getting an attack piece for running against Feinstein. Yeah. So I was like, well, that's interesting. So they quoted me as saying I'm a long shot candidate.
They made you famous.
Yeah, so, well, no, because their blog isn't very well read. It's like, if you put the Democratic donkey on a Republican elephant, that's about what their blog is. It's a pro-business corporate Democrat blog where they all go to, talk about how much money they make. But anyway, he quoted me as saying that my campaign was a long shot candidacy and that I would never, do any damage. He actually attacked several candidates. He attacked Stephen Jaffe, and he also attacked Dottie Nygaard, who's running in District 10. You should look Dottie Nygaard up. I hear that she has some recognition down here. Look her up as well. But he attacked us all. Since then, I have actually organized single-handedly as the campaign manager anyway, I'm my own campaign manager, I have actually organized a statewide campaign where I have people all the way up in Siskiyou County and all the way down to San Diego, all the way over the Bay Area, and into the foothills handing out flyers for my candidacy. I have bumper stickers, which are free, by the way. We are shipping them out for free, going to every area of the state. So this is just from my organization and a handful of volunteers. Currently, we are a 100% volunteer campaign, and we are reaching every corner of the state. We have done this with almost no money. So imagine if we had the backing of progressives in California, who instead of falling in love with a corporatist, would actually back a progressive candidate who's a member of the working class, who knows the experiences that what we experience as working class individuals. What if someone like that ran and won in California against one of the most rich corporatist candidates ever in the Senate? What kind of shockwave would that send across the nation? So why run against Feinstein? Isn't she like a great liberal hero? Okay. There's this false sense that she's a liberal hero because she comes out for certain very specific issues. She's really good on gay rights to an extent, but where does she lose money on gay rights? She doesn't. Now ask her about fracking. Oh, let's just talk about that later, maybe at my next town hall in 24 years. She's not interested. Now let's talk about, war. Well, of her top 10 donors, 3 are the war industry. 2 of them are drone manufacturers. So suddenly she wants to vote for Trump, $700 billion budget, more than he asked for, when he's threatening multiple countries with war.
That's our Diane.
Yep. So Dianne Feinstein said that single-payer healthcare is a corporate, or is a government, I will say that because that's my next line, is a government takeover of all healthcare, when we know that healthcare in America is a corporate takeover of government. We need to get single payer, not because I said so, not because Bernie said so, but because 71% of California wants it. So let's look at the voter rolls for a second. 71%. Well, how many people are Democrats? 30-something-ish. How many people are Republicans? Probably like 29% maybe. NPP is probably another third. What does that tell you? This is a bipartisan issue. 71% of California wants government-controlled health care, which we all know is not government-controlled, which, I'm preaching to the choir here. The government becomes the payer, and the health care is still provided by private companies, but we'll get to that later. 60% of the entire nation wants single-payer health care. So now look at representation. Who's the representative? The person that's sitting in the chair out in Congress or in the U.S. Senate who's voting against the issues that we care about? They're not. So my goal is not to go up there and make a huge salary and get a bunch of corporate donations. My goal is to bring representation from people who have to choose or have had to choose in their life between paying rent or paying electric bills, not which house they're going to stay in tonight, not whether they're going to visit the state that they represent once in a while, but someone who lives in the state, who grew up in the state, and actually wants to represent the working class. So that being said, I am a corporate-free, democratic socialist, working class, pro-union candidate for U.S. Senate. I am running against 2 corporatists who both have started super PACs and are collecting unlimited corporate donations that we don't know about until after the fact. I will not be accepting any. I do not have a super PAC. And now we're talking about this great environmentalist, Tom Steyer might run into the race.
He won't.
He won't ban fracking.
So yeah, he won't ban fracking, but also let's think about this for a minute. So all of a sudden we're making heroes out of hedge fund managers who are billionaires and can't represent us if they wanted to?
He won't run for governor or nothing.
So this is what we're up against, guys. We can have a working class candidate, which is why I'm running, or we can have a corporate controlled person who their constituency is corporations. So it's up to us. I am not in this race because I want some name recognition or because I want to make a statement or because I want to pull the Democratic Party left. We know that's impossible. We are not going and entering into the Democratic Party to pull it left. We are going into the Democratic Party to hijack their infrastructure and take over with progressives. So if there is any confusion as to our intent, let it be known that we are coming to remove corporations from the Democratic Party on the state level. And when we're done there, we are going to continue, and we are going to go to the national level, and we're going to kick Tom Perez out. Yeah! And we are going to install actual people that want to represent working class people who have to work every day and aren't interested in corporate benefits. We're interested in benefits for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. Hi, folks. I'm Stephen Jaffe. I am running for the United States Congress in the 12th District of California. My primary opponent is Nancy Pelosi. So, first I'm going to talk a little bit about myself very briefly. I've been a lawyer here in California for 46 years. This is the first time I've run for public office, although I've been in local politics as a volunteer and club president in other ways for about 5 years before this. What inspired me to run was really, in 2 words, Bernie Sanders really resonated with me. I worked for him, I gave him money, and I was ultimately recruited by the national campaign. I was sent to Nevada. I helped legally supervise what turned out to be the chaotic Nevada caucuses. So I'm sure there are those sitting out there who are wondering, what is this guy running for Congress in the 12th District of California, which is 400 miles away from here, doing sitting here talking to us? And I'll tell you why I'm here. The results of my election, Jaffe versus Pelosi, is something that is going to affect every single one of you. I am a non-corporate progressive, just like everybody else up here. I wouldn't imagine that any one of us have a substantial disagreement on any of the major issues before us today. But because Nancy Pelosi is the symbol, the representative, the very incarnation of corporate Democrats and the establishment, if I am able to get close to her in the primary, or if I can knock her out, and I am, and I assure you I am in this to win it. If I can do that, it's going to encourage and help every single other progressive candidate in the United States, because she is the top of the pyramid, or if you prefer, the head of the snake. Ms. Pelosi and I differ on pretty much every important issue before San Franciscans. The People's Party, which was Bernie Sanders' platform, has 8 or 9 points, depending upon which version you look at. And we examined this, and I hope to have a graphic someday which will more dramatically illustrate this. But all of the congressmen around the Bay Area of California support the majority of them. Some of them support all of them, like Ro Khanna and Barbara Lee. How many does Ms. Pelosi support? 1. The biggest one that keeps coming up, and the one everyone's talking about here, is health care. I am 100% in favor of single-payer Medicare for all health care. My opponent not only opposes it. She affirmatively blocks it. She blocks it in Congress. Why does she do this? How do we know she does it? She failed to endorse 562. She fails to co-sponsor John Conyers' bill 676. She fails to endorse Bernie's new bill in the Senate. I think it's 1801. And she blocks it. Why does she do it?
She's sold out.
Exactly. Where does she get her money? She touts herself as the greatest fundraiser of all time. Well, so what? Where does she get her money? She gets her money from insurance companies, from healthcare providers, and from big pharma. And for that, she sells her vote. Because all of those entities have a very big stake in preventing single-payer health care from ever becoming law. All right. We are in dangerous and historic times, folks. These are dangerous and historic times. Things changed on November 8th when we all woke up and found the orange-faced Cheeto sitting there in the Oval Office. That's why I'm running. I just could not sit and watch anymore, and I took Bernie's words to heart. Don't just talk about it. Get up there and run. So that is why I'm running. And I'm not only running to legislate, I'm running to, and I'm going to echo some of David's words here, to fix the Democratic Party. The party's not broken. It's like a bus that the driver's gone crazy on and is driving it off the road. We have to take control of the bus and get it back on track. How am I going to do this? I'm going to abolish superdelegates. They are undemocratic with a big D and a little d. Well, let me digress. There's this lawyer named Jared Beck who filed a lawsuit in Florida not too long ago. He sued Debbie Wasserman Schultz and the DNC on behalf of a class of people who claimed they gave their money to Bernie thinking that the primaries would be fair. And it turns out the primaries were not fair because the DNC cheated. And the DNC hired a bunch of lawyers and went to court, and the DNC lawyers stood there and said to the judge, and you can't make this up, you don't have jurisdiction over us. We're a private club. We can lie, cheat, and steal and fix the nomination all we want, and there's not a damn thing you, the court, can do about it. That's what the lawyer said. Well, folks, if that's true, why do we hold the charade and the fake of primaries? Why do we hold caucuses? Why do we have delegates if the DNC has the power, as it says it does, to fix things? That's why we have to fix the party. We have to abolish these superdelegates, which diminish or destroy and dilute the votes that you people cast, in primaries. That's what I'm going to do. All right? I'm just going to close. I like to talk, as you can tell. Ms. Pelosi, in the last week, has said two things of importance. First one, she was asked in an interview, what about the younger Democrats in Congress? These are not people on the street. We're talking about United States Congress people. What about the younger ones who challenge you and your leadership in the Congress? Her words were, exactly, I'm not going to waste my time addressing those people. I'm not going to waste my time. Nancy Pelosi says the Democratic Party doesn't need a new direction. Nancy Pelosi says a woman's right to control her body is, and her words are, fading as an issue in the Democratic Party. So I'm here to ask you to help me take her down. Help me take her down, and when she goes down, the whole thing is going to go down with her. Thank you.
I had to get up. How you doing tonight, everyone? My name's Michael Bracamontes. I'm running for governor as a Democrat. I'm the progressive social justice candidate. I'm not accepting any corporate money. And I'm running for a very simple reason. It's a very simple reason. I want to make things better for people without political power. It's what you're supposed to do as a public servant, and it's what we've gotten away from as a Democratic Party. In 2008, when President Obama won, the Tea Party did a good job of challenging their establishment, GOP. And as it worked for them, right? The Tea Party gained power. They pushed their party where they wanted it to go. They had new energy, new ideas, new faces. And Democrats need to do the same right now, especially in California. California describes itself as the leaders of the left, the leaders of the progressive movement. But we've had the same leadership up top for the past 20 plus years that got us into this mess where we find ourselves today. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I grew up nearby Montebello. I went to Garfield High School. I'm the eldest of 5 kids. My parents are over here. Dad was a truck driver. Mom's a pharmacist. Give them a quick round of applause. I've attended public school from K through law school. Met my wife, who's from Tulare, which is in between Fresno and Bakersfield. Met her down at UC Irvine, and we had our first kid a little earlier than we expected, but that's okay. So we got 2 kids now, 17 and 13 years old. So I worked full-time the last 2 years of undergrad, went to school full-time, was out there grinding. Moved up to the Bay. I went to law school at UC Berkeley. My wife got her master's in education at UC Berkeley, and she was an educator for 14 years in the high schools and in middle schools. So the past 11 years I've been an attorney, a civil rights attorney in San Francisco, nearby where Stephen's at. And we represent, in housing cases, we represent exclusively tenants against their landlords. In employment places, we represent employees in racial discrimination, sexual harassment cases, and we also handle police brutality cases. So when we're looking at what the Democratic Party needs to change and what issues they need to address in terms of platform, these are the things I'm running on. For housing, we all know there's a housing crisis. We know that gentrification. People say gentrification, like, gentrification. It's actually community displacement. That's what I like to, it's community displacement, because we get calls all the time from our law office, and it's usually a little old lady calls me up. She's been in the same house for 25, 35 years and says, I got a new landlord, a new real estate investor just took over, and they just raised my rent from $1,000 to $3,000. Is that legal? And in most places in California, that's completely legal, but it's not fair. These are the people that made the communities what they are today. They raised kids in that neighborhood, they built that neighborhood, and they're getting pushed out of the place that they've been in for decades, and it's not right. It's not right. So we need statewide rent control. We need statewide just cause eviction protections. We need to repeal Costa-Hawkins and repeal the Alice Act. No other gubernatorial candidate has said that.
What are they?
You tell me.
Some people don't know. What's the Alice Act and Costa-Hawkins?
Costa-Hawkins and Alice are basically big loopholes for rent control. They essentially allow rent control to not apply to single-family residences and to most buildings built after 1978. Thank you. And the Alice Act allows big, well, not always big companies, but landlords to pull a property off the rental market, and they can do whatever they want with them after that. So a lot of times we'll get phone calls where there's an 8-unit building, new landlord comes in, Alice acts the whole building, which means everyone gets kicked out, and they turn the building into condos. So it's a way to displace the community.
And Airbnb.
And Airbnb. And it's contributed to this homeless problem. We've all seen an explosion in the homeless population. in the past 10 years, places where you would see one homeless person sleeping under a freeway overpass, we see encampments today. Tents, cities. Los Angeles Times ran an article about a month ago that said if rent went up 5%, there'd be 2,000 more homeless people in 30 days. And that's why we need rent control and why we need these protections for tenants.
Universal rent control.
That's right. We've got a hepatitis A outbreak in Los Angeles and San Diego. We literally have people dying in the streets. Who else is disgusted by that? This is the richest country in the history of the world, and people are dying in the streets. Who's disgusted by that? With respect to criminal justice reform, we have for-profit prisons in California, which I believe need to be banned. It's immoral that we have companies and individuals profiting off of keeping primarily brown and black people in jail. Southern California ACLU put out a statistic about a month ago that said 63% of the people currently incarcerated haven't been convicted of a crime yet. They just can't afford bail. Alameda County, it's over 80%. And people are making money off of this. Same with the immigration detention centers, these private detention centers that have all these people locked up. There's a reason for this. There's a profit motivation. The Department of Justice did a report in 2016 and compared for-profit prisons with government-run facilities. And the for-profit prisons had higher incidence of inmate-on-inmate violence and inmate-on-staff assaults. And we all know why that would be, because those companies are concerned about the money. So they have less guards, their guards are trained less, and the people up top make more money. And this privatization of government services, whether it's prisons or schools, we've got charter schools that are trying to take over the public education system. Eli Broad has talked about wanting 50% of LAUSD students in charter schools over the next couple years. And that's exactly the wrong way to go. That's exactly the wrong way to go. I'm a big believer in the public school system. I've attended public school. My kids have attended public school, which, you know, most politicians, most rich people, they don't put their kids in public school. They put them in private school, and then, you know, they give lip service to the public school system. But my kids attended public school, and it's the belief that we need an informed citizenry. We need teachers and public districts that are accountable to the public. And when you've got a charter school system involved in education, boards of directors aren't accountable to the public. You can't go vote them out. That's a company. They're there to make money. These people aren't there as philanthropists. So we need people in office who understand these things, that they're not there to further their political career. If regular people don't run for office, all we're left with is professional politicians who are concerned with holding on to office and winning the next election, moving up the next rung on the political ladder. We're left with multimillionaires and billionaires, and we're left with celebrities. So I applaud everybody on stage today, everybody who's run for local office or school board. That's a great thing you're doing for your community. That's how democracy is supposed to work. Yeah. Give yourselves a round of applause for everybody who was up here earlier today. And when we talk about healthcare, it has to be seen as a right. We've talked about how we're the richest country in the history of the world, and there are other countries that already do this. So it's not a matter of us not being able to afford something. You know, we spend on the F-35 fighter jet over its 50-year time span. We're going to spend $1 trillion. $1 trillion. We find ways to finance all kinds of things. Jerry Brown's trying to build those twin tunnels up there in the Delta for $18 billion. The money's there. What we need is the political will to put people over big money donors. That's what we need. And so when we're thinking about who to support for office, you guys have to remember two things. One is, as Democrats and professional politicians, most of them are going to sound pretty good. For the most part, you're going to agree with maybe half of what they say, maybe 75%. But we all know that when they get into office, if they've got a conflict between keeping a big money donor happy and doing what's right for the community, they're going to pick that big money donor 10 out of 10 times. We know that. And that's why it's important to have corporate-free candidates, because we're not beholden to any special interests. We're going to do what's right for the community. We're going to keep fighting for justice, opportunity, and equity, just like we have been our entire careers. So I thank you all for listening. My name is Michael Bracamonte.
Hi everyone, how's everyone doing tonight? Thank you. First of all, I want to thank the organizers of this event for putting on such a wonderful event and inviting all of us to come and speak to you tonight. And I want to thank all of you for coming out tonight, because this gathering here tonight shows that the people in power can no longer ignore us. Just to let you know about myself, my name is Justin Sampson. I am running for the California State Senate in the 34th Senate District. I am running against Janet Nguyen, who is currently the Republican incumbent, who was proud to, by the way, vote against SB 562. When that vote came up and she made her 15-minute tirade about how we would either have single payer, and if we did, then families would have to pay for milk or health care, I had to just jump in and say, you know what, it's time to hold you responsible for that vote. It's time to actually put someone who will stand with the people, who I know in my district wants single payer health care, and it's time to get you out. A little bit about myself. I was born to two Filipino immigrants who came here to America with the hopes of having a better life for themselves and their families back home. And I was primarily raised in a single family household. My father unfortunately left us when I was a teenager, and I really understood the value of a good education. I attended public schools, just to kind of piggyback on what Michael said, and I attended it basically from preschool all the way up to when I graduated from college at Cal State Fullerton. And on that note, I am a 100% supporter of public education. We need to stop the privatization of our public schools. It is time to bring back the neighborhood schools that we used to have. It is time to fight against the charter school industry that is shelling out billions of dollars, making sure that they get rich off our kids. And it's time to put the power back into our local communities and back into our school districts. And it's time to fight back against these industries right now. You may have noticed I'm also a person with a disability, so I'm also running to put representation towards individuals with disabilities. Many of them many of the people who are disabled right now, who are in government, whether it be city council all the way up to Congress, are so, because they were once able-bodied and now disabled due to the senseless wars that we're fighting in the Middle East. But as for myself, I have been visually impaired since my birth. I have fought against this, and I hope to bring representation to that community that is long overdue for far too long. Some of the values that I support are some of the values that these panelists have spoken about. Thanks for stealing my thunder, by the way. Well, my number one issue, as you probably have heard, is single-payer health care. And for those who want to know, why do you support single payer health care? You know, don't you get like, is it, you know, aren't you this like radical socialist or whatnot? Well, I am proud to be a democratic socialist, so thank you. And this issue is so personal to me. In 2008, my mom was diagnosed with end-stage breast cancer. She fought her condition with valor and with honor. She endured 9 years of chemotherapy and her battery of treatment. After graduating from Cal State Fullerton in 2014, I chose to be her primary caregiver and chose to attend all her doctor's appointments with her because she really didn't have anyone. And while being with her at those doctor's appointments, I got a chance to see how broken our healthcare system was. I got a chance to see it was really healthcare insurance companies and not doctors who were actually making final decisions on treatment. There are some cases where my mom had to fight the healthcare insurance companies to get the treatment that she wanted. Sometimes she had to choose whether it would be between paying the $25 copay to see the doctor or to put the $25 towards the groceries or towards the rent. This is what I got a chance to see. This is why I'm an adamant supporter of single-payer health care. I know we have SB 562 right now in the Assembly, and we all know that Rendon is stonewalling the bill as we speak. My message to you, Speaker Rendon, if you're listening right now, release the bill, respect the legislative process, and let's get moving on single payer in California right now. And if Rendon refuses to release the bill and it dies in the Assembly, if elected, you better damn believe we will have single payer in California once and for all. I will be introducing that bill. We will be having single payer. For the past 6 months, I've been an activist for the homeless community in Orange County, and I can tell you right now, Orange County has done absolutely nothing for our homeless community. I live a mile away from the Santa Ana Riverbed, which is one of the largest homeless encampments in Southern California. I walk the riverbed as much as I can. I've spoken to constituents, some of them who are there due to bankruptcies because they could no longer pay their health insurance and pay their medical bills. Some of them who are there because their big corporations who they work for pay them starvation wages. And furthermore, there are some people who are there due to mental illness and drug addiction, and can't seem to get the treatment that they deserve. Well, I agree with Michael. We need to get universal rent control. We need to repeal Costa-Hawkins. We need to repeal the Ellis Act. We need to make sure that rent is fair and affordable for everyone. I can tell you about gentrification right now. I live near where Angel Stadium is, and right next door is a development area known as the Platinum Triangle, where rent is going for $2,500 a month for a 2-bedroom apartment.
Bullshit.
I agree. Who really thinks that people should be paying that much for rent? $2,500. Well, I'll tell you who's really making bank because of this. And it's these rich developers who feel as though renting out apartments at market rate really will get them the money that they want. I tell you that if elected, we will repeal Costa-Hawkins, as I mentioned. We will have universal rent control. And if we get Michael elected, I hope that, and I know he will be signing that legislation. And I guess a little bit more about myself. I was a proud delegate for Bernie Sanders at the DNC. Lauren Steiner, who is in the audience right now, was one of my colleagues, and I was proud to fight alongside her, especially for all the issues we tried to bring up that the corporate media refused to address. TPP, the ending the senseless wars in the Middle East, Medicare for all, banning fracking. Exactly. And you know what? It's time to ban fracking, actually. I haven't heard Janet Nguyen or anyone else who plans on jumping in this race planning to ban fracking. We need to ban fracking. We need to move towards a green technology revolution that will create thousands of good paying jobs. And you know what? Why doesn't Janet Nguyen support a ban on fracking? Because she's bought off by Chevron. She's bought off by ExxonMobil. Now, like everybody here on this stage, I am proud to say that my campaign slogan is that I am powered by you, the people, and not the corporations. And this is a value that is extremely important to me. Because if you are powered by the people, you will represent the people. But if you're powered by corporations, you'll be representing their interests, and I guarantee you they will be calling your phone and they will want favors from you. So rather than saving myself the trouble, it is better to represent the people and represent your interests rather than interests that go against you and your interests, such as, for instance, single-payer healthcare, like what Anthony Rendon in this district has been doing. So I would like to conclude my speech to just let everyone know that we do have a chance to not just fix the Democratic Party, as we heard. We need to hijack the Democratic Party. We need to be the faces of the Democratic Party. And you know what? If we have elected officials who will not stand with us and our progressive values, they need to be called out. As I've said before, and I'll say it again, we as voters, we as candidates, and we as elected officials need to call balls and strikes on our on everyone. And that includes our colleagues if elected. So you know what? I will continue to call balls and strikes on my elected officials. I have shamed Democratic city council members. I've shamed my the board of supervisors who have done absolutely nothing on homelessness. And just last Tuesday, the Santa Ana City Council voted to make it illegal to serve food to the homeless people living in the Santa Ana Civic Center. They've also made it illegal, by the way, for individuals to have tents. So these homeless individuals will be out in the elements, sleeping on I don't know what, the cement of the city of the Santa Ana Civic Center. So you know what? It is high time for us to stand up. It is time for us to take responsibility for our government, because as we've seen, if we don't take responsibility for our own government, who will? Who has filled in the void if we don't step in? Corporations, special interests, and as we've seen in Orange Orangutan, who knows absolutely nothing about being president. But you know what? That is why we need to step up and take responsibility for our government. Thank you.
I just need another 30 seconds here. With the exception of Justin, this is not the first time I've appeared with these four people. I'm sure it's not the last, and I am very proud to be here with Justin also and all of them. Yeah. I imagine we will be appearing together again as well, and that's why I have a question for the audience here. I've been looking for a name, what to call us, other than these guys and these candidates, and I've come up with the name The Progressive Surge, and I want to know if you like that. Do you like that? I guess not. Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much. I think Gail wants to say something.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, I just wanted to make a couple points. I had kept my remarks real short, but when we all had our chance, so I just wanted to make a couple more points. First of all, I agree with everything that all these candidates have said. As many of you have heard me say repeatedly, of course, rent control, because Richmond passed a new rent control law, the first new rent control law in California in 30 years this past November. So it can be done statewide. We have to repeal Costa-Hawkins and Ellis Act and all that. But we need more than that, and we need truly affordable housing, and we need to do it in a bold way. Some of you may have heard when I was mayor, I championed what was called the eminent domain program, where we were seeking to purchase we were seeking to acquire mortgages by eminent domain to reduce the principals to keep homeowners in their homes. So why don't we use eminent domain to acquire vacant homes and vacant land and utilize it for truly affordable housing? You know, these big banks are sitting on them. And we could utilize that power of eminent domain. I also want to say that I've been exploring something that some of you may have heard about called basic income, a guaranteed income for everyone. I think that is truly what we need. So that in a public bank, a statewide public bank. So these are some bold solutions. We need to be out there with bold solutions. That's what captures the imagination of the public. So thank you, everyone. And please check out all our tables. We have lots of campaign materials. Thank you.
I swear this will be less than a minute. So I wanted to say, I wanted to make the sale at the end. We have bumper stickers, which are free, so there's no sale there. Buttons for free. These are mine. I don't know about these guys, but mine are free. The only thing that isn't free is the donations. So if you'd like to make a donation, there's envelopes in the back. You can also donate online. Check out the website at davidforcalifornia.com. I'm also on Twitter, where I cause the most of issues for corporate candidates, because I don't hold back calling anyone out. And also on the rent control thing, I just wanted to leave you with just some dream or like imagination type statement. Imagine rent control on the federal level.
All right. So let's thank all of our panelists, please. Thank you so much. Thank you all so much. All right. So since it's getting a little bit late, and so there's some people that absolutely have to leave. So we're going to do a little bit of change in the schedule, but don't worry, everyone. Everything's still going to happen.